Live from the 607 is the ODPH Entertainment Edition, where we're talking movies, comics, TV, and more. Why don't you join in the conversation? Hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to another edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour Entertainment Edition. I am your host, Ken. I'm sitting across from me this week. Back in the studio, it's the one, the only, Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Folks, we survived the polar vortex, so we're so happy you decided to join in the show with us. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPHEE. Join in the conversation on social media because, man, we have a lot to discuss. Lots of news broke during the polar vortex, so we got to definitely get into this. Kicking off the show, we got to break down everything that's going on with the DCEU / Worlds of DC / DC comic films, because there was a bunch of news that came out all of a sudden. Pad, why don't you break it down for us?
Well, the first one we got to talk about, probably arguably the biggest story of the entire week, was that Matt Reeves' long rumored, yet to be announced, yet to be confirmed, whatever you want to call it, film The Batman got a release date of June 25th, 2021. Now, this thing I know has been in development / writing for, Lord, it feels like since at least after Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, in various forms, in various writers, in various incarnations. Not sure quite what the holdup was, but it's finally got a release date of, as I said, June 25th, 2021. That's not even the biggest news.
No.
The biggest news coming out of this is that as we finally got confirmation of what has long been rumored, long been suspected, that Ben Affleck is done as the Bat. He's hanging up the proverbial cowl. Now, it is being reported that this film will supposedly feature a younger Batman. I have read that it will not be Batman Year One story for this.
Okay.
So I don't know what story they're going to do, but I have read in a couple places that it will not be Year One, as cool as that'd be to see on the big screen. But the biggest news is that what was long rumored is that Affleck is done. It had been rumored for what feels like 6+ months, but we finally got confirmation, and we even got a tweet from said Ben Affleck back on the 30th of January that said, quote, "Excited for the hashtag The Batman in summer 2021 and to see Matt Reeves' vision come to life."
I'm kind of mixed about this because I was actually on board with Ben Affleck being Batman.
I thought he was all right.
I didn't have an issue with it. I thought Batman vs. Superman, and we've gone over this many times on the show, did not like the movie, thought they were trying to do way too much, way too soon.
Yeah.
With, you're doing Death of Superman, The Dark Knight Returns. You're doing all these iconic stories in one film, and it's too much.
Let's say you're loading your gun up a little too much, a little too soon.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that you don't need to. And I thought when he was in Justice League, I thought he was okay as Batman.
Yeah.
I didn't really struggle with it as much.
No.
So obviously when Matt Reeves want to do the Batman, and whatever the storyline is going to be for that, he wants to go in a very different direction. If they want to go do a younger Batman, and you said they're not doing Year One, which is kind of surprising because you figure if they're going to do a younger Batman, that might be why. The only thing I can guess, and this is my unofficial ODPH guess, they're going to do the Long Halloween.
That could be.
Because if you're going to go young, and I mean, depending how much, I'm not saying we're going to go Gotham young.
No, they're not going that young.
By any means. But if they're going to go young, you want to deal with a very up-and-coming Batman. You don't want to deal with the one that is very grizzled and very...
He's been through some stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to deal with the jaded one thus far. You want to see, obviously, where he's honing his detective skills. Long Halloween, if they can pull that off, would be amazing.
Yeah.
Because that is essentially in the same vein as Year One. If you've never read Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale's iconic story. And like I say, I know we say iconic a lot. That one is a true iconic detective story. You can't go wrong with that at all.
No, not at all. And if memory serves, and I'm double checking on this, I'm pretty sure they did an animated film of it.
I believe they have one coming. I don't think they've done an animated one with this one.
No, yeah, they did. They did do an animated movie of it back in 2011.
Really?
Yeah, they did, where it was Brian... Ooh, interesting one. Bryan Cranston is Jim Gordon. Ooh, this is also interesting. The gentleman who plays Jim Gordon on the aforementioned show Gotham, Ben McKenzie, plays Bruce Wayne. And yes, no, I vaguely remember, because I remember at one point Netflix had added a bunch of like DC animated movies where it was like that one. It was Batman Under the Red Hood. It was Justice League. I think Doom is the name of it, where like Batman's secrets to like take out all the Justice League gets exposed. But no, yeah, they have done that in anime form. That's a good movie if you can find it.
How the heck did I miss that?
I don't know.
All right, now I'm completely stumped because I thought that they were talking about doing it.
They might be doing it again. I mean, they did do Death of Superman twice in like a decade.
That is very true. So if they go that route, I'd be okay with it. And I got to go search when I get out of the show tonight about the original Batman The Long Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, the book is amazing. And if they can bring that to the big screen and do a live action, albeit though there's going to be a lot of factors that got to intertwine because that's a huge rogues gallery.
Yeah.
Without spoiling the story because I don't even want to get into it. But if they can pull that off, I mean, that would make the most sense.
I'll say they may not even pull from the full story of it. They just may pull from certain aspects of it and put it into, a new. They may pull certain instances and stories and what happens in it from it, and weave it into an original story that is helping them tell a cohesive narrative that goes forward, helping further establish the DC movie universe.
Maybe. I mean, I'm sure they're going to figure something out for it if that's the route they go, which I think only makes the most sense. Because if you want to try doing a young Batman, I mean, there are some stories you could do, but which ones?
Mask of the Phantasm.
I wish they would.
So do I, man.
I wish they would do a live action.
That's the best animated movie, best DC movie of all time.
I know, and it's kind of surprising that they've never thought about. Like, we've never heard anything about a live action.
Right?
Mask of the Phantasm.
They've never touched. They put it out. They've re-released it a couple times, but they've never touched it in any way, shape, or form. Now, I know the character of the Phantasm has been brought into Batman Beyond, the animated series, where I forget the character's name, but it's the woman who is the Phantasm. Eventually shows up later towards the end of, I think it's like the final episode or whatever of Batman Beyond. But other than that, to my knowledge, that's all they've done with the character.
Yeah, which is kind of surprising because you figure they might go that route,
right?
But honestly, I don't know if they really want to tamper too much with the animated series because I mean how classic it is, and it's just like. I'm not saying it's the same as Watchmen, but it's also like, sacred territory.
Yeah.
Because it's part of the, that animated series is just, I don't want to say it's untouchable, but you don't really want to tamper with it or tarnish a legacy with it. So obviously trying to transition something to the big screen. I know when they did Watchmen, and we've gone over this, and we will definitely go over it more when the HBO show comes out. You really kind of just want to watch of what you're borrowing from like that level of, classic fandom. Obviously, you want to make sure that you're doing justice to the property and to the work.
I mean, the only thing they wouldn't be able to do justice is Mark Hamill's laugh at the end of the movie.
Right.
That's the best laugh of all time. Fight me.
Yeah. Oh, no, without question. So, obviously, if they're going to go that route, that would be very interesting to do. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
No.
Long Halloween's top of my list. I don't know if they would necessarily do Hush. I know that's been rumored. I know that is coming out animated style.
Right.
At some point. But I don't know if they would necessarily go with that for the big screen.
I feel like you got to build up to that. You can't lead off with that. You got to build up to it.
Yeah, there's got to be so much build for that. Honestly, and I think this would work, is if they wanted to do Court of Owls. Okay,
yeah, that's a good young Batman story.
Yeah, because obviously it was part of the New 52, Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo's, iconic run. And you can fight me about that because I will definitely take on all challengers about this. Just how classic that you really want to see Batman out of his element and really kind of hone in his teeth, so to speak, or hone in his skill rather. You really kind of want to see where he's doing that.
Yeah,
I could definitely see that. I don't know if they necessarily would do the year one version of the New 52. Maybe it's possible, but I don't see it. But there's going to be so much going on with it, and I honestly don't have a name for casting yet either.
Right. That
you really want to just kind of think, okay, one of two things. They're obviously going to go young, and would they lock this person up a la Marvel for like a six film deal?
Right.
Or is this going to be like a one shot and we're just going to recast every time we go?
I feel like they might start off with a one shot just to see how it does, because heaven forbid if they screw this up. But if they do it, it does really, really well. Now, I'm not talking like Aquaman levels well, but if it does well at the bottom, it makes its money back. Then I think they can talk, have like a handshake agreement that like, all right, listen, this is a one film deal at the moment. Let's see how it goes. We'll go from there. If it does well, we'll come back and then we'll talk a long-term deal.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of speculation moving forward with that. I mean, I'm excited to see what they're going to do because obviously anytime you bring Batman to the big screen in a live action, the pressure is on.
And especially since it would be his first solo film since the end of the Christopher Nolan trilogy.
Yeah, so the pressure is definitely going to be on Matt Reeves to deliver. So stay tuned for that. But that wasn't the only news going on with DC. They are in talks with James Gunn of Guardians of the Galaxy fame to take over the Suicide Squad franchise. And we're hearing kind of some mixed things through various sources about where they're going to go with it. Is it going to be a direct sequel? Is it going to be a reboot? Pat, what do you think is going to happen there?
Well, see, the thing of it is it doesn't necessarily, it can be a sequel, but it also doesn't have to be a hard reboot. It can be kind of a soft reboot, because the thing with Suicide Squad is it's not always the same group of people. You know, it's not like if you pick up a Justice League book, you're going to see Superman, you're going to see Batman, The Flash, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and Martian Manhunter. You're going to see that core crew. Thing with Suicide Squad is, okay, yeah, there are some who stick around, there are some who are in a couple stories. It's ever changing. So you could do a quote unquote soft reboot where, yeah, the first one did happen, but for reasons we can come up with in the movie, because let's face it, I'm not a Hollywood movie writer. I'm not that talented to come up with a reason on the spot. They could come up with a reason that, oh, hey, we had to go with new characters because of reason X.
Yeah, I think this one, it would be smart to do a follow-up, and I wouldn't say you need to do a hard reboot at all.
No.
The only character I think you really need to keep around from the first one is Will Smith's Deadshot.
Yeah, that, and I'd say maybe Margot Robbie, depending on where they go, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, because, I mean, Harley Quinn in the DC live-action universe is going to be very busy in the upcoming years.
Yeah.
But if you really want to tie it into Suicide Squad, I think it would be smart to add Harley Quinn to that lineup.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, you can kind of mix and match who you want from the DCEU / Worlds of DC in there, however you want to do it. And with James Gunn taking the helm, I think it's a step in the right direction.
It makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, I didn't really...
It's essentially the Guardians... what he could turn this film franchise into is DC's version of Guardians of the Galaxy, albeit all villains, not heroes.
All villains, all heroes in Earth base, not in outer space.
Yeah,
so,
it's essentially, if you really break it down and take away the comic company title, the characters, and everything else, and you just look at the people themselves, like the characters themselves, without names or powers or anything, they're the same thing, now just on different sides of the moral spectrum.
And I think there's a lot of ways they can go, because, you know, doing some edgy humor, because obviously if you saw the first Suicide Squad, I mean, there's a lot of humor in it, but there's a lot of dark humor.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it would be in the same vein as that. But, I mean, if you ever read the classic stories of the Suicide Squad, not the more recent ones, albeit though those are very good as well.
Yeah.
You know, at the essence, it's a team of, you know, villains that are sent on suicide missions. That if they survive, well, great for them. If they don't, well, it's no skin off the, you know, agency's back that is taking care of them.
Unless they know nobody's going to exactly be shedding a tear that they'd be gone.
Right. So obviously you got some characters you can work around with. And like I said, the only one I could really see coming back is Will Smith's Deadshot.
Right.
Harley Quinn would make a lot of sense, so would Captain Boomerang, because if you know the comic, Captain Boomerang and Deadshot are staples from the original team.
Yep.
And Harley Quinn has been a recent addition in the reboot. So that would make sense for those characters to be involved. Anybody else is kind of, we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I can definitely see the Enchantress being added to that mix as well, because, I mean, she was in Injustice 2. So there's definitely like a lot of different ways you can go with it.
I just feel like when they do this movie, they have to go with more known characters than they did the first time around, because I feel like that was one of the things that kind of hampered the movie is, okay, you know who Harley Quinn is, you know who Joker is, and you know who Killer Croc is if you're familiar with Batman the Animated Series or the Batman Arkham games. Outside of that, it was a lot of, wait, who are you? Now, I'm not saying you have to do a Suicide Squad movie with like Gorilla Grodd, Bizarro, Mr. Freeze, Penguin, and Joker. Now, I'm not saying you have to go like A-list, but like at least introduce some characters that the comic fans know, maybe some that were in the animated series that like they're not A-list, but they're not D-list, that like at least, I remember who that is. I remember them from the, you know, Batman animated series, from the Justice League series.
Yeah. I mean, they got a lot of different ways they can go, and I'm sure if the talks go through...
Solomon Grundy. That'd be awesome.
Long overdue. Long overdue. I can only... And, you know, I'll even throw you a casting. Dave Bautista.
Oh, yes. Because I just want the scene in I don't care what movie it is, where you've got Solomon Grundy. You can't see him, but he's doing that Dead on a Monday, that whole chant. And like you can't... It's like you could do it straight out of a horror movie. You don't hear him, or you don't see him, but you hear him.
Yeah, I think that would work wonders.
Oh, it'd be so good.
So we're waiting to hear when that deal gets finalized. I imagine that's going to go through. I can't.
Yeah. I feel like if it's hitting the web at this point, it's kind of near done.
Yeah, so it'll be very interesting to see once that gets going. I'm super excited to see that when that comes out. And especially, I hope that they decide to go with the original storyline I was hearing through various different sites was they were going to be going after Dwayne The Rock Johnson as Black Adam.
Right.
And he was going to be involved in that.
That'd be amazing.
I hope they bring him in for that as well. If they want to change up the story, that's fine. But, we haven't seen Black Adam in any of the films yet.
Right.
We're not going to see him in Shazam 1.
Right.
So when are we going to see him if he's still doing it? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
And that would make perfect sense. I could only imagine him in that movie.
Unless I put him in that movie alongside Dave Bautista. Holy crap.
Just the one-liners.
Uh-huh.
One-liners would be so epic. And then, as we said, speaking of Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie, we're not sure if she's going to be a part of it. But the next film that she's slated for in the DC universe is going to be The Birds of Prey.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this one, there was a trailer, if you can call it that.
Yeah.
It was one of those, like the Joker
footage.
movie. Yeah, it's footage. It's like the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix.
Right.
That you saw a couple things, but did you see everything? No. And did you see enough to really make a judgment on the film?
No.
No. And
this, to me, because I saw the trailer, it reminded me very much of if you've ever seen behind-the-scenes stuff on like a DVD or a Blu-ray. It reminded me very much of test footage of them in costume, where now not all the time are they like in character while they're doing it. Usually it's just them kind of standing there, maybe swinging a sword or whatever it is they're going to use in the movie, and it's usually them like mugshot style turning side to side. Because if you really pay attention to the background of this video, it's all the same. It's all the same room, that like drape covered room with different lighting. To me, this looked like costume test footage just to see how it would look on them. And they looked at it like, hey, this would make a good teaser footage.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely something intriguing. I will say that because when I saw it, I was like, I don't know what the heck is going on here. Because you see a lot of Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn.
Yep.
And you see there's no dialogue. It's just kind of walking around. And then you kind of see like, very quick glimpses of various characters that are in the movie.
It almost reminded me of a commercial for CW where you'll see Stephen Amell as Arrow, you'll see Grant Gustin as the Flash, and like it's with the CW music in the background with text popping up.
Yeah. And I mean, as I'm looking on Rotten Tomatoes, because they slowed it down the footage, you see the characters of Black Mask without the mask.
Sure.
You see Black Canary, Huntress, Victor Zsasz, Renee Montoya, and Cassandra Cain.
Ooh, that's some good characters.
Yeah, which I'm liking what I'm seeing thus far. Because, like I said, you're not seeing a lot, but you're definitely seeing, okay, the characters are here. And like I said, the footage that has been released on the web there is more Harley Quinn based than anything. But you do see a little glimpse shots of everybody else. And like I said, if you go to various sites, you can see where the footage is slowed down. And like I said, I'm looking at the stills on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's what they're showing. So, Pat, you're seeing the picture as well as I am. What was your thoughts initially?
I'm very intrigued by it because we obviously just by some of the characters alone. I mean, Victor Zsasz and Black Mask, you got my interest right there. Those are some classic Batman characters with a lot of history.
Yeah, it definitely is, especially Black Mask, who has kind of risen the profile, in over recent years per se.
We'll say, if memory serves, he was the main overall villain in the Batman Arkham Origins video game.
I believe so. So it's one of those things that if they're going to go kind of spin off of the Bat universe and go to separate characters, I think we see a lot that's going on here that isn't the step in the right direction. And especially with Harley Quinn getting added to the Birds of Prey, which is a little bit different than the comics.
Sure.
Because I don't really remember her a lot on the team, if at all. So to see her on the team and seeing how she's going to interact is going to be really interesting. And I'm definitely interested in how they present this too.
Yeah.
Because this one, I don't want to say is flying under the radar, but it's kind of going in with very quiet expectations.
I'll say, yeah, they're not. They're going to be going in with some expectations because Margot Robbie is there as Harley Quinn, and there's going to be a lot of people who go to see it just for Margot Robbie. But it's not one of those films where it's like, oh, it's character X. Wow, I can't wait to see X, Y, and Z. It's kind of under the radar where it's like, okay, this could be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think for hardcore DC comic fans, they're definitely excited to see the characters that you're going to see in the film. Like Cassandra Cain, Renee Montoya. Huntress we've seen in various incarnations throughout the DC TV universe.
Right.
But we've never really seen it in live action. Or in the movies, rather. So this is going to be really interesting to see how they pull this off. And like we said, we've seen some. I mean, we just kind of seen, like I said, it almost looks like costume pictures. But we really haven't seen what direction they're going to go in. And I think just if this is like the same vein or the style they're going to start teasing fans with for the films, What do you think about that style, Pat?
I'm not opposed to it because there are a lot of people, and understandably so, who avoid any sort of trailer, ad, anything because they don't want to know anything. And I feel like this is a safe bet because you can show this to somebody and go, listen, there's no spoilers in here. It just shows you who the characters are. And I feel like that's a safe bet because then you can go, oh, okay, this looks like you can make a judgment based off of what you see without spoiling anything. Whereas if you might be going into a movie, if you don't want to know spoilers, you don't want to know anything, well, you're going in completely blind.
Yeah. This is going to be something that when it comes out, it's going to be really something to see because, like I say, this is one, I don't want to say the comparison like when Marvel does Ant-Man or something, but they release a hero or heroes with Ant-Man and the Wasp that are not really household names.
Right.
But they're going to definitely put it out there because they have faith in the characters. I think with DC doing this, I think is a step in the right direction as well.
Yeah.
I mean, albeit you're adding Harley Quinn, and that's going to raise the profile up.
Oh, yeah.
But even so, you're introducing more characters into a live-action movie universe. Anytime you can do that and you break away from trying to stick to the traditional Superman, the Batman, Wonder Woman, and you're really, well, even though Wonder Woman's only had one film.
Right.
You're really getting away from your, most popular ones, and you're taking a shot with some, lower on the roster, so to speak.
And you're not trying to shoehorn them into an already large movie.
Right. You're letting them breathe and letting them kind of just grow as characters and see what works with the audience and not. And I always think that that's such a good idea to do.
Right.
Because when you just try shoehorning characters in and it doesn't really fit and it's not organic, it doesn't translate well with the audience.
Right.
So this one, I'm definitely intrigued to see. And I think with DC, what we're seeing right now, they've had a lot of film news this week. And definitely promising if you're a DC Comics fan.
I'll say there are definitely some closed-door meetings.
Oh, yeah. And I think, obviously, the success of Aquaman has raised the profile a little bit. And obviously, they're capitalizing on it before Captain Marvel comes out from Marvel in March.
Yep.
Smart move to do as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because Marvel is going to be definitely having a big month in March leading into April.
Oh, yeah.
So if DC wants to strike now before it becomes too late. But let us know what you think. We hit you with a bunch of DC comic movie news, but we want to know what your thoughts are. Hit us up on the hashtag ODPHEE. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Matt Jane.
This is Julian Hepworth.
I'm Ross Marchuka.
And John McBride, and we're Shot at the Robots. You're listening to
ODPH.
Come back for segment number 2 on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition, and there was some Marvel news on top of all this DC talk.
Yep.
And they finally released the trailer for Season 6 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Woo!
Yeah, I'm completely surprised about this because usually
I completely forgot they were filming it.
Yeah, you'll see like a little teaser here and there, but a little closer to when it's coming because it's coming summertime. Last we heard, short season, 13 episodes.
That's fine.
Which is perfectly fine because as we all were expecting, we thought it was going to get canceled at the end of Season 5.
Right.
Which they treated like the series finale. If you haven't seen it, you have time to catch up now.
I'll say if you watch what's on Netflix and watch the final episode of Season 5 and stop there, you're perfectly fine, at least at this point.
Oh, absolutely. So now with Season 6, we don't have a lot of clues of what the direction was going to be in.
No.
We have been given some with the trailer. We are going to be talking spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Pat, what did you think of the footage you saw?
Agent Coulson's back, apparently.
Yeah.
I'm just going to jump right to it.
Yeah. See, I am kind of very torn by this.
Okay.
Because they open up with Mac now in the director's office because he is now the director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Which is the biggest dilemma for him because he wanted out.
Oh, yeah. He wanted out in the worst way.
He was like, listen, the same for me. I got other stuff I want to do. Other ventures I want to pursue. And, JK, you're in charge of the whole operation.
Yeah. I mean, Mac, played by Henry Simmons, is now in charge. And really kind of, he's now thrusted into the role. But obviously we saw in Season 5, he definitely has the leadership skills in him to do it. It's just, does he really want to? And he's talking to a projection of Coulson,
right,
played by Clark Gregg, who is, obviously at this point, he's gone. It's been confirmed by Agent May that he did pass away from the injuries sustained in Season 5. Obviously stemming up from when the Ghost Rider and season 4. You got to just do some backstory on that one.
Yeah.
But he has succumbed to the injuries that were upon him, and he knew he had a little time left.
Right.
So it's been confirmed that he has passed. May is back with the team.
Oh, she's pissed off.
And yeah, the scariest thing that could happen for anybody fighting S.H.I.E.L.D. is an angry Agent May.
And if you don't think she's angry, listen to her tone of voice. It is very deadpan.
Yeah.
She's pissed.
She's back to season 1 May, which is scary for anybody.
Yeah.
Because that's before, I don't want to say she became.
She warmed up.
She warmed up because now it seems like it's a return to fold. And if there's one great thing about season 1, Agent May. The old school, no emotion, back to business.
She's going to kick your head off and then ask questions later.
Yeah, is now back in the fold. And we start seeing some other footage around too of Fitz is still frozen.
In the future. Well, not in the future, in space.
In space, and Simmons is with him, Quake is with him. I think Yo-Yo is with him as well. So there's a lot of members of the current team with them, along with a couple other faces you see from season 5. And we don't really know a lot what's going on there.
Right.
But we do see that somebody's attacking the ship they're on.
Right.
There's a little bit of a fight scene. We see somebody getting a mutation of some sort.
Which looks like it hurts.
It does. And I'm trying to think in the Marvel universe who pops out like with crystals. Because that's what it looks like. They're getting like a crystal thing. And the only thing I could think of, and I know I'm stretching, is the original Guardians of the Galaxy had a crystal character on it. Now, this is not the one that we've seen that has been incarnated into the movies.
Right.
I'm talking the one that was in the 90s and earlier, too.
Sure.
The name escapes me at this moment, but I'm going to see if I can find it as we're talking here. So, as we're saying that, it seems like somebody is infected with a virus of some sort and they're becoming a crystal-like creature.
Well, it almost seems like it's another one of the experiments that like turns a person into an inhuman, whereas, the people who don't have the gene or whatever it is, they just turn to stone and then they disintegrate. But then the ones who do, they turn to stone, and then come out of their quote-unquote cocoon, because that's the only way I can describe it. And then they kind of develop their powers. It almost seems like this is something similar, albeit we don't see the first half of it, but like the person's writhing on the ground and then horror movie style crystal spikes or whatever it is are coming out of them and they're like screaming in pain.
Yeah, it's just something that we don't really have a lot of answers for, like what they're getting infected with.
Right.
Is it something that is, dare I say, like a mutation? I know it's not, and I know the deal has not been signed, but before anybody starts...
It's not a mutant.
It's not a mutant. I'm going to say that right now. Martinex is the character that I was thinking of.
Okay.
For the Guardians, and and that character is very crystal-like.
Right.
Are they implementing that into the show? I'm going to say maybe, because we really don't know a lot what's going on. All we see is somebody is infected, and it looks like May is injecting them with something to cure them.
Right.
Now, other than that, we really don't have a lot other factors going on, except there is a team, it looks like, of mercenaries that is after S.H.I.E.L.D. for whatever reason. They didn't look like anybody I recognize in the comics. Didn't really jump out. But the big cliffhanger that Pat was alluding to, and like I said, I wish we had the YouTube hooked up that you could see his reaction. Coulson apparently has returned.
Yep.
Now, we see just him walking in the back, and somebody asks him about S.H.I.E.L.D., and all he says is S.H.I.E.L.D.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
And it looks like a season 1 Coulson.
Yeah. So I have a couple different theories I'm going to run by Pat about this.
Okay.
And obviously joining the conversation on social media, hashtag ODPHEE. 1, do you think it's a Skrull? 2, do you think that this is actually the real Coulson and the one that we saw get killed off was a Skrull?
Do I think it's a Skrull? No. I feel like him being a Skrull is just too easy and too convenient. Do I think this is the real Coulson and the one they killed off was a Skrull? No, I don't think so. I know there's a popular, a lot of people out there who are like, oh, this is Captain Marvel Coulson. No, because I presume Captain Marvel Coulson knows who S.H.I.E.L.D. is at that point. We've yet to see the movie, but I would presume that he is very aware of who S.H.I.E.L.D. is, if he's not an agent of them already. If I had to guess, maybe alternate universe Coulson, another Coulson that, maybe they're going to bring in multiverse into this. Because they kind of have with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now, I know those two aren't going to be connected in any way, but... the casual fans aren't going to exactly know that they're two separate things. And so it's Marvel movie. They've introduced multiverses with Into the Spider-Verse. They might do it. They might be a different universe, Coulson.
Why did I bring up Skrulls?
I don't know.
because this is my theory about this.
Okay.
As I was watching this, obviously we know Agent Coulson is going to be in the Captain Marvel movie.
Yep.
The movie is set in the 90s.
Yep.
So this is pre him rising up the ranks at S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just throw this out there for a second. Maybe in Captain Marvel, I think is going to be a very, very, very big clue about the direction of this season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
It's very likely.
And I'm going to say that the Coulson that was in said movie is the one that appears at the end scene of the trailer. And I'm actually going to go out on a limb, and I will say that the one that we've seen in the movies this entire time, maybe, just maybe, was a Skrull.
That'd be the world's longest long game.
It would be. And I know the only question I'm probably going to get hit with immediately is, okay, when Coulson was killed off in Avengers, shouldn't he have reverted back to being a Skrull?
Okay.
Did we see his body officially die?
We saw him stabbed, and it's been a while since I've seen the movie. He slumps down, and if memory serves, he shoots Loki with the giant gun.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's kind of it.
Yeah, so we never see the body.
The comics rules, you ain't see the body.
Mm-hmm. So let's factor that in.
And then again, we didn't see the body when he died at the end of season 5 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
We just know that he went with May to Tahiti because it's a magical place.
Mm-hmm.
And he died. And we're taking May at her word on that.
And what if we say Tahiti was false memories?
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say that, when he came back, because obviously if you're injecting him with inhuman Kree DNA,
right,
that probably would have had a reaction if he was a Skrull.
Yeah.
But what if it wasn't Kree DNA?
That's very true.
I know I'm stretching on this. I mean,
it very well could be, but it just feels too convoluted even for Marvel.
Maybe. But I'm just saying the fact that we saw Coulson, get his epic ride-off in the sunset and to retcon it.
Well, asterisk, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
We don't know.
Something just seems a little too fishy, and I think we're going to find out more clues with the Captain Marvel movie. So I'm going to say if you're planning on going to see Captain Marvel, and you should because it looks fantastic, definitely make sure you're watching what's happening to Agent Coulson, because I think a lot is going to tie into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. from that movie.
Oh, you don't even got to tell people to watch for Agent Coulson. People wanted him back on the big screen since he died in Avengers and came back in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, yeah.
People are going to pay attention to him anyway.
Oh, absolutely. But just for the little details, because I think that's going to be the tipping point for this current season.
Right.
Because I think that this is where they kick off Secret Invasion.
That could be.
I fully do.
It very well could be.
And I mean, how crazy would it be? Because we usually don't hear about the TV universe working well with the movie universe.
Yeah, this is true. Listen to past episodes.
Mm-hmm. So just to see this all implemented, I think is going to be something to keep an eye on. I'm not saying this is official, and I'm not saying I have any insider information because I don't.
Right.
This is me making an educated guess.
Just based off of what you know from what you've seen.
Mm-hmm. Because if he's coming in, he's like S.H.I.E.L.D., I don't know them. Obviously, you could be talking to multiple alternate timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Sure,
it could be another universe's Phil Coulson where S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't a thing. Superheroes aren't a thing.
I mean, maybe
supervillains aren't a thing.
But they never really have tampered with it per se,
right?
Like that. I mean, closest we got was Into the Mainframe,
right?
So I mean, it is possible. But I'm just gonna say, whatever is going on with Coulson, don't be too surprised if it's not Secret Invasion related.
It could be a half-done LMD, too. It could be an life model decoy of Coulson where, they didn't put all of the memories back in him. They forgot some.
Could be. And that's also my other theory I got with it, too. So, I mean, either way...
Because you were screaming that for a long time, that he was an LMD.
Oh, it was the only thing that made sense. If you know anything about S.H.I.E.L.D.
Because I remember season 1, you texted me, he's an LMD. Like, episode 1.
Yeah. Well, that's the only thing that makes sense, because if you know anything about S.H.I.E.L.D. and their upper echelon of directors and everybody that's underneath them, there's usually about like 5 different LMDs.
Yeah.
And Nick Fury had I don't know how many in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think anybody that was ever talking to the 616 universe version knew who they were talking to at one point.
He was harder to pin down than Batman at times.
Absolutely. So I'm not saying that the LMD theory is out of question, because I still think it could be.
It could be.
But I don't know if they would necessarily bring it back so quickly from season 4, but they might. Either way, the mystery of Coulson is what's going to be driving this season, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And what if, per se, he's the one leading those mercenaries?
That'd be wild.
I'm just saying.
You've loved the character and you've loved the person since he was introduced in, what was it, Iron Man 2? And, that's been, going on 10 years now since that movie's been out. and to have a character beloved by everyone, because I dare you to find me someone who hates the character Phil Coulson. Like, genuinely.
Yeah.
If you know, challenge to the listeners, if you know someone who does not like Phil Coulson, you don't have to like tell us who they are. Just say, hey, I know, you sent us something on Twitter, on Facebook, saying, hey, I know somebody who doesn't like Phil Coulson, because I'm genuinely curious if anybody hates the man.
Yeah, you can't hate the character. Yeah,
because I remember when he got killed, quote unquote, killed off in Avengers. It was one of the few times I've been to a movie theater where everyone gasps out loud.
Yeah. Oh, he won everybody over. I mean, that's why they even drove the point of doing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
And I mean, why would you bring him back? And Coulson
Right.
lives. And
Right.
that year near Comic-Con when that whole place erupted.
Yeah.
I mean, the character speaks for himself. So obviously what's going to happen this season is going to be truly something to watch. Final thoughts on the trailer before we close out the segment, Pat?
Very excited to see where they go from here. The last season was arguably one of, if not the best season they've had in the entire show's history. So, the bar is very high for them to top that, if not beat it. And from what I've seen, it looks like they're going to top it.
Honestly, I don't know what to expect this season. I think it's going to be heavily Secret Invasion influenced. And obviously, them getting the 11th hour reprise to do Season 6 and Season 7, let's not forget.
Yep.
So if this is going to be a cliffhanger, so to speak, at the end of Episode 13 this season,
right,
is going to be something to watch. I'm definitely intrigued the direction they're going to go with, because they ended on such a strong note with Season 5 in the quote-unquote series finale. The fact they're coming back, the pressure is on them to deliver. Do they have to deliver a home run every episode?
No.
But
doubles and triples don't hurt.
No, absolutely. That's what they need to, because to bring them back and continue the high quality that they've been striving since Season 4, which is the best in my opinion. Season 5 is good, but Season 4...
I said one of, if not the best.
Yeah, I know. I'm not disputing. I'm just saying my opinion. Season 4 all day, every day. But to bring them back after the 11th hour recall, that is going to be a lot of pressure for the show to deliver. I think they can, and the mystery of Phil Coulson will continue on. But let us know what you think. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPHEE. What's your thoughts on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 6? We want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Jimmy Gazdick from Crimson Brethren and Floodlands, and you're listening to ODPH.
Coming back for another segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition. And if we're talking anything on TV currently, we're talking about my new favorite show, Deadly Class, on SyFy, Wednesdays, 10 o'clock. It is so good based off the Image comic. And, Pat, I know you're getting caught up with it.
Yep.
So I'm going to try going spoiler-free as much as possible, but I might be talking some spoilers. So if you're worried about it, get caught up on the episodes. You can definitely find them at SyFy. And get caught up. Download the episode. When you're all caught up and ready, hit play and join us in the conversation in 3, 2, 1. All right, so as we got into episode 1 of Deadly Class, we find out the story of Marcus and how he gets brought into King's Dominion, which is almost like Harry Potter for assassins,
right,
to relate it to. And we're meeting the different characters he's involved with. And as we get into it, he's really just kind of dealing with what happened in the ramifications of episode 1, where he wound up actually killing somebody defending Willie that he perceived as a bad person. And, it was a lot taking its toll, because obviously we're finding out with all the characters we're seeing on the show, not everybody is who we see them to be.
Right.
And I think it's such a cool concept, too, because you'd figure everything would be straightforward, and you can definitely read on, okay, what's this character doing, what they're not. And you really can't. By every episode, you're finding something new involving everybody. And that's what I think is just so cool about the show, because once you think you might have an idea about somebody, it goes completely out the window.
Oh, yeah.
And as we're getting into it, you're seeing Marcus, and he's dealing with, trying to fit in, and he's the quote-unquote new guy at school, and that's always just an interesting thing to see, just, the coming-of-age story.
Yep.
And he's obviously on the bottom of the, quote-unquote totem pole, as he's a rat. He's, doesn't have a legacy like the other students, and he has his own little group he kind of hangs with, but he's definitely not getting any ground. And the only one who's really kind of taken, I don't want to say like a liking to him, but really is kind of just trying to help him out as much as he can is, the professor Jurgen Danks, who's played by Henry Rollins. And is, in the chemistry class, he's always really kind of seeing what's, going on with Marcus, and just kind of, almost having like a heart-to-heart with him, and just kind of seeing like, kind of just teaching him like what's going on with the world. And as we were kind of see, it's just going, from there, he's really struggling to kind of find his place. But obviously we're seeing that not everything is what it seems, as we've said. And Master Lin, who runs King's Dominion, has basically pulled Willie aside because he thinks something's not right with the story that him and Marcus came back with from the homework assignment that was from episode 1. And he almost puts everybody in like an escape room type deal.
Right.
Where they're getting locked in, there's gas going off, this poisonous gas. He gives them a riddle to go, figure out how to save themselves. And as they're going through, like, all the kids that are quote-unquote legacies and know what they're doing are panicking.
Right.
Except Marcus, who's keeping a level head, and he finds out to unlock the door to get him out of there. They have to go fight guards. I mean, it's a crazy scene to happen.
Right.
And definitely, like we said, we make the comparison like Harry Potter for Assassins. Yeah, you wouldn't see this at Hogsworth.
No, probably not.
By any means.
No.
And as you're kind of going through, Marcus is the only one that can figure out the riddle, but his major adversary thus far, Chico, punches it or like shoves him out or punches him before he can do anything.
Right.
And obviously he puts the whole group at risk, but Maria makes the save and saves the group based off what Marcus found out. And one of the great aspects of the show, too, and it's getting better by each episode, is you're seeing the budding friendship between Saya and Maria. Lana Condor and Maria Gabriela de Farah are definitely just stealing the shows when they're together. Because as you're seeing, obviously, the difference of personalities and types on the show, you're kind of seeing them emerge as the budding friendship best friends. Mm-hmm. And every scene they're getting together, you're just kind of seeing just how it's really a true friendship coming out between the characters.
Right.
And you wouldn't necessarily expect that from them. And they're just getting stronger by each episode. So that is always just something that, as we get into see, the last night's episode as we're recording, you really kind of see where the friendship is growing. And I mean, obviously, the rest of the episode was kind of tied up into a house party in the 80s. Because as it's set in the 80s at Shab's house, just hijinks galore,
Lots
per
of
se.
synth and techno.
It is, and there was just a lot of different stuff going on. I don't want to ruin it by any means, but it was just, like the show has such an 80s feel because of where it's set, the music, which, by the way, they have a playlist on Spotify.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which is incredible, too. All the music on there is so top shelf. And then as you find out with Marcus being at the party and just kind of working his way through the crowd, him and Willie kind of have a heart-to-heart about what Willie's true origin is, because he's not coming across as the person he's supposed to be, and you really find out Willie's background and just how he's kind of forced into this life. Mm-hmm. It's definitely not his character, and he's just trying to do what he can to survive. Meanwhile, who's not at the party is Chico and Maria, and Chico definitely sends a distinct message to Maria about not crossing him.
Right.
And I don't want to get into spoiling for that. That turns out to be a very intense scene, and you really know that something is going to be building for the end of the season between Chico and the rest of the class. That is going to be something definitely keep an eye on, because that is definitely not going to end well for anybody.
No.
And then as you see, the party is let out, and the Master Lin takes Marcus to the funeral of the person who he killed, and why he's doing this, because he wants him to face his victims and just really kind of get a sense of the gravity of the situation he's put in. And as the episode is breaking down, you see that there's somebody tied to Marcus's past that has made a unique entrance onto the show that I don't want to spoil, but it's page for page from the comic.
Okay.
That it was done, like I said, panel for panel. And where they go with this character, you have to wait and see to find out. And then, as we say, last night's episode, it was definitely, a very good, like I say, there's just so many elements of different 80s films that you see in this. Yeah. So this was like the hazing of the rats by the legacies.
Sure.
And definitely went a lot of different ways. And you see a little more action going on with Saya and Maria. And it's definitely like some of the best scenes on the show, because you get away from the whole assassins learning to be bad. And you're seeing just, friends be friends.
Sure.
And just obviously the hijinks they get in, which, I mean, obviously what happens with them in that scene, I don't even want to get into, but it's just something that is just like, you just see like a genuine friendship being born between them, and just how it's like going across the, the different groups and legacies they're in. And then obviously you see there's a lot of ramifications from the dance that's being set up, and you see the end of Petra and Victor's storyline from the, from what happens at the party, and it's just almost a scene like out of Carrie. Mm-hmm. That's the vibe I got, what happens to Petra. And obviously with the prank war that was going on this episode, and how it just escalates, the rats decide to come back and take out everybody.
Oh, boy.
Which is only going to lead for more ramifications later. And this episode had so much going on in it. And that's the one thing that, trying to break it down, and I don't want to get too much spoilers, but I'm just giving just a little enough for our listeners that have been watching. that is just has so much elements going on that you have those lighthearted moments of the dance and the kids doing the prank war, and then it turns into Jurgen is giving his notice that he wants to leave King's Dominion. And Master Lin gives a call from above that can't happen. Just the breakdown of their friendship and just what's going on and how that just boils over that Master Lin tried saving him and he can't, and where it goes from here is going to be something to watch. Deadly Class has been so authentic to the comic. Like, it's almost scary how it is.
Which is good to see.
Yeah, it's very good to see because, like, as you know, when you watch a show that's based off a comic, I mean, how precise do you want the show to be to the comic?
Relatively. I mean, the comparison I can make is the Harry Potter films, because I know there's a lot of people, and understandably so, who there are certain plot lines and storylines left out of the films. But, and are there some that are left out that I would like to see? Yeah. I mean, for those who are Harry Potter films, there's an entire plot line in the third movie that's left out that to me feels major, but like it's not in the film, I'm not brokenhearted about it. So I would like to see some relative, faithfulness to the books, or the source material. But obviously, you have to cut it down for a viewing audience that, like, okay, you're not reading the whole thing in one sitting or you don't have the whole thing in front of you in one go like you would a compendium of the comics. So you're dealing with a public and a viewing audience that is getting, if it's an hour show, they're getting 42, 43 minutes a week, to view this with everything else in their lives going on. So I understand that you have to make some cuts, but I feel like if you're getting the core story and what's necessary to your story and what's important to the story from the comics, you're good.
Yeah. Deadly Class is nailing it on all points. I mean, the soundtrack is so late 80s and where it needs to be, and it's such a diverse soundtrack, too. I mean, everything that you hear at the school dance, too, which is just kind of crazy to see in its own right. And just every scene that they just start going with the deep cuts of the 80s is just so good. And it takes from so many different elements. Like I say, we say it's Harry Potter for assassins, and that's so not even like a great way to describe it. It's just when you have a kid that's kind of thrusted into a school for assassins, and it's a coming of age, and it just has the same elements that you see in so many films in the 80s especially. But still, the themes resonate now. And how well it's written, how well it's produced is just truly incredible. And the cast is really just kind of taking it upon themselves to really step it up and just go from there.
Yeah.
And like I said, Saya is the breakout character thus far. Without question. She is stealing every scene she's in. And that's tough to do because every character, when they're on too, that you see from Marcus to Willie, is just, they're adding their own elements to the scenes. And just everybody's adding so many different styles to the acting to it. It's just truly awesome to watch, and especially, like we say, to deal with like the material that's from the Image comic. I mean, Rick Remender's story is truly something to see, and it's brought, like I said, so faithfully to the small screen. SyFy is absolutely killing it with this show,
which is good to see.
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, like I said, we've talked about this on past shows. Their comic shows they've been doing lately between Deadly Class and Happy. And even Krypton to a lesser degree. Krypton is a whole different story because it's based off the Superman lineage.
Right.
And now they're tying in more elements from the Superman DC cosmic universe. That it's really kind of like, interesting to see that vision.
Right.
Because I know that they've just shown still photos of Lobo.
Yep.
Getting added to it, and it's like, well, how long has Lobo been around? And blah, blah,
Right.
So, I mean, that's going to be something interesting to see. And without giving too much away from Krypton is his own voice, and just to see how it's being represented on screen, and it doesn't have a feel like the CW shows. It's its own standalone, and it definitely does its own to make itself stand out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love everything Sci-Fi's been doing. I absolutely do. And where they go with Happy Season 2, I don't know. Like, we haven't even gotten into that yet.
No, I don't even think we've seen a trailer for it or anything.
There is a trailer out. I haven't got a chance. I haven't gotten to seeing it. I've seen a commercial, but I've not seen. I've heard rumors, so I'm hoping to go check out their show and just definitely set in to see, because where they go from this is going to be a brand new story. So I don't know where they're going to go, but I'm super excited to see where they go. But tying it back in, Deadly Class, I know you got to get caught up on the show.
Yeah.
Braga Signal was chiming in about it too, and he was just like, how good the series follows the books is just like almost panel for panel.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome, because if you haven't read the book, get to your local comic shops, go pick it up, ask them for it. It's done by Image Comics. It's amazing. I can't recommend it enough. I can't recommend the show enough. But enough of me talking. What do you think about Deadly Class? Hit us up on the hashtag ODPHEE. We want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is the King of Lisle, Luke Visengard, Gladius 205 champion, and you're listening to the ODPH.
Coming back for the final segment of this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition. Pat, why don't you start us off with those one-shots?
Well, got to talk about a couple things. First of all, you know which one I'm going to talk about in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
But I got to get to the one that most warmed my heart last night was the latest episode of The Orville titled A Happy Refrain, written and directed by Seth MacFarlane. Holy crap, might have been the funniest and best episode they've had this season. The episode, without getting into too many spoilers, basically the main story was Dr. Claire Finn, played by Penny Johnson Gerald, falls in love with Isaac the robot, played by Mark Jackson. For those of you who haven't seen the show, the easiest comparisons I can give you are the Doctor's character is basically Beverly Crusher from Star Trek The Next Generation.
Okay.
And then Isaac is essentially Lieutenant Commander Data from Star Trek The Next Generation. They fall in love. Well, she falls in love with him, and just the antics that ensue. There's one scene in particular that is easily the funniest thing I've seen in maybe the last 5 years. I can't, if you watch just one episode of the show, make it the one last night, it's hysterical how funny it is. It's so good. Obviously, the big one I'm going to talk about, though, Kingdom Hearts 3 was released last week after waiting, 12, 13 years for it.
Give us the review.
Well, first of all, I got to talk about the crowd that showed out for this thing was astounding. I wasn't sure quite what number. I didn't figure it was going to be Red Dead Redemption 2 numbers, because when I went to go pick up Red Dead Redemption 2 when that came out, that was the most people I've ever seen packed into one store. This was near it, though. There was north of 40 people at the local store I went to pick it up at. Less than 50, more than 40. The game is amazing. The game is, I'm, 12 hours into it. Game is amazing. Gameplay is fantastic. It's free-flowing. It's very easy to switch from one method of attack to the other. It's very, very, very open. The biggest thing I love of it is you look at the first game where it's very kind of, a lot of the worlds are square in design and they're very linear. The second game, Kingdom Hearts 2, it kind of expanded on that. Okay, it's not so linear, but you can't really go everywhere. This one, it's very, very, very vertical and open, where I was exploring Mount Olympus from the Hercules movie the other day, and you can go up to the top of Mount Olympus, where if you remember the beginning of the movie, where they have Hercules party for his birth or whatever it is in the beginning of the Hercules movie. You can go up in there, you can explore all around there. Zeus is standing there, you can talk to him. And then you can jump off of there and go to the bottom, basically the entrance of where Mount Olympus is, to go back down onto Earth or whatever you want to call it, without any loading screens. You can run all through Thebes, the main city from the Hercules movie, without. The only loading screens you get while running through the worlds are when you first load it up. Okay. You load up, so you travel to the world, you press to land. It goes through a loading screen, which isn't even really a loading screen, because it's a loading screen, but they kind of entertain you with, it's almost like an Instagram kind of thing, where it's like pictures that various main characters will have posted on this quote unquote Instagram, complete with hashtags. And it kind of updates itself. You'll see kind of the same ones if you don't advance the story, but once you advance the story, you start seeing new ones. So, but that's kind of the coolest thing for me is you no longer have to go, oh, you run through this door. Okay, now you got to wait 30 seconds to a minute for it to load the next room. It's kind of open and free flowing. Can't recommend it enough. It's the biggest thrill I get out of it is having played the series for 15 years now, because the first one came out in 2002. You're starting to see tie-ins and things kind of being brought together, where it's you have main characters from the original one talking about in the timeline, talk about stuff that happened in the past before they were factored into the story, and it's just the coolest thing to see the payoff and kind of see everything being brought together. I haven't finished it yet. I know the epilogue got added the day after, and the secret video just got added yesterday as we record. I can't wait to unlock those and see what happens.
So it definitely was worth the wait?
Yes, absolutely. 100% worth the wait. Only complaint with the game, because I do have one small complaint, is they've introduced a feature where your main weapon, the Keyblade, can be upgraded, where you can make it stronger. My only complaint with it is that the items you need to upgrade the Keyblade are the same for all of them. So there's no kind of diversity like,
Okay, so
oh darn, I don't have enough items for this one, I can at least upgrade the other one. No, it's like they're all the same for all the Keyblades. That's my one complaint.
fair enough. I mean, that's very minor on the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the wait for how long it was.
Yeah, very much well worth it. And just to see, the amount of actual voice actors they brought back for the movie. Now they weren't able to get everybody. Danny DeVito doesn't voice Phil from Hercules. They didn't get Mandy Moore for the Tangled movie, but they still did get James Woods for Hades. They still did get Idina Menzel and Kristen Bell for Elsa and Anna and Frozen. They got Josh Gad for Olaf and Frozen. They got a lot of voice actors that it's cool to see kind of that like tie over, like, oh hey, that's the voice I'm used to seeing on TV.
Yeah, I mean, that's just truly something remarkable too. I mean, I know how amped you were to see this game. I mean, everything from when it was announced to going down to New York Comic Con and
I remember they first put out the first teaser trailer in 2015. I was watching from home and I yelled out loud like the first time I'd ever done that because I couldn't believe they were actually doing it. And somebody actually was calm down. I was like, listen, you know how long I've been waiting on this?
Oh no, that has been your game for as long as I can remember. So I mean, I'm super excited that it's panning out for you, man. Because I know you've waited longer than anybody.
Definitely a great game. Pick it up if you want to. If you haven't played any of the other ones, there is a thing. So you start up the game, you go through the kind of if you're familiar with Kingdom Hearts, it's a beginning tutorial. They do have a thing. It is skippable if you know the series, but they do have a thing where it's a 25-minute video that it's an abridged version of kind of what's happened, but they do have a 25-minute video split up into about 5 parts that kind of fill you in on what's happened. It's, like I said, very abridged, but it gives you the nuts and bolts of what you need to know.
All right, definitely cool. So check it out. If you're looking for a new video game to pick up, highest recommendation Pad's got for you.
Oh, yeah.
So, Pad, we have to talk about another movie trailer that came out.
Uh-huh.
I will pass the mic to you.
So we knew this one was coming. The movie is done, in fact. It's going into the editing process, the final edit process. But there was a lot of speculation that this movie trailer would drop on Super Bowl Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
It does have a spot on Super Bowl Sunday. Let's not mince words. But it makes sense that it dropped today because if it were to be released on Super Bowl Sunday, it would get lost in the shuffle of Super Bowl Sunday and all the ads and trailers. But what trailer dropped today, you may ask? Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Jason Statham. Holy crap, this looks amazing.
Just to take it back to where the original movie was with the late Paul Walker and Vin Diesel.
You're not the only one I've seen say this today.
And just to see how it started out, that it was, and I'm sorry, I'll probably be talking spoilers, but the film has been out long enough.
It's been out long enough.
To see how the fact of just illegal street racers that were stealing DVDs, players, and all types of other stuff.
Yeah. And
to see that now they have become this elite fighting unit that is saving the world on
4 times over.
And the most outrageous stunts. I just see them get this far, and yet, you just think, okay, they can't top the last one.
Yeah.
Because now it's grown out, the whole story is, gone way past the first one.
Oh, they've jumped the shark about 7 or 8 times.
Oh, yeah, this is a whole, you know what you're getting when you see a Fast and Furious movie now?
So there's a scene in the trailer where a McLaren, which is that's a lot of money car, does a drift under an 18-wheeler.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, the stunts you're seeing in this, I mean, you want to talk about blockbuster summer movie action.
Yeah.
This is what you see.
This is that.
You're not going for the plot, even though now they're introducing super-powered people in the Fast and Furious.
There's a super villain.
There's a super villain now.
Yeah. Idris Elba, who is, of course, playing the villain, is superpowered. He says, I'm bulletproof, I'm indestructible, He's a super villain.
Yeah, I'm losing just where they could go with this. But you know what? It's okay because I know with the Fast and Furious, the fact that we are now almost approaching 10 movies.
Yeah,
almost. We're close. Just the fact that we've gotten this far is just truly astonishing for that franchise.
Well, and what's wild for me is I remember, they said, oh, yeah, we're doing another Fast and Furious movie. I'm like, okay, that makes sense, sure. Oh, and they're doing a spin-off movie, too. At first, I was like, really? What are you going to do? And then they're like, oh, they're going to do Hobbs and Shaw. I'm like, okay, we'll see if this works. Seeing this trailer, no, yeah, I'm sold. I'm on board.
Oh, I'm on board. I'm going to go see this because this is just out of control.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason to this, but it looks amazing.
I'll say the most interesting thing I think to come out of this, and they haven't even said this, I kind of got curious about this, is there's a blonde-haired woman who is featured very prominently throughout the trailer. And I'm like, who is this person? I wonder who she is, because she didn't have that, oh, I know you, maybe you were in a past movie, who are you? Dug it up on IMDb. The actress's name is Vanessa Kirby, and according to IMDb, her character's name is Haiti Shaw. Now, for those of you who are Fast and Furious fans, you're going, oh. For those of you who don't know, Shaw is the last name of Jason Statham's character, who is named Deckard Shaw. So I'm willing to bet that's his sister.
And you're probably right.
Because they introduced his mother in the last one. This very well could be his sister.
The franchise is just going places. I mean, this is... I don't even know how to get like the right words out. This is just going to be blockbuster summer movie action.
Uh-huh.
That's the easiest way to describe this. If you like your action loud, this is the place to go. If
it's a hot summer day, 95 plus degrees out, 100% humidity, air conditioners broke in your house, no central air, pools are filled with people. You need something to do. Movie comes out August 2nd, 2019. There's a movie to go see.
Boom, there, opening night, not even questioning.
Oh, so am I.
Yeah, like I say, you need to see the trailer. You can definitely check it out where you check your movie trailers.
Yeah,
it is so worthwhile. Then, just like I say, just trying to wrap your head around from where they started to where they're now.
Yeah.
Watch the first one. That'll be the homework assignment between now and then.
Oh, Lord.
Watch the original Fast and Furious with the late Paul Walker and Vin Diesel.
Yep.
And now look at where they are with the trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible journey, folks. Bravo. So for my one-shots, I got to say, I got about 3 of them here. So first and foremost, though, the CW has announced its renewals for their TV shows.
Uh-huh.
And every DC TV show was renewed.
Yep.
Arrow, Flash, Black Lightning, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Which is awesome news to hear. You kind of had an idea that
sure,
most would be renewed, obviously, doing Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
So to see everybody get a renewal, I thought was awesome. But the one thing that maybe is slipping under everybody's radar, too.
Mm-hmm.
Supernatural got renewed for a 15th season.
Yeah, well, that's wild.
Yeah, which is crazy. They're coming up on their 300th episode with Jeffrey Dean Morgan reprising his role as John Winchester for that episode. I mean, just in overall, just how the CW has grown, and obviously the DC universe on the CW is growing exponentially. Because there's another show that we're waiting to hear is going to get picked up.
So they're working on, if they're not already done with the pilot for the Batwoman TV show. There's no word yet on if it's been picked up for a full season or if it's been picked up for a show. From what I read earlier today, they are hoping to be picked up by at least May.
Yeah, and that would be huge to add them to the lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, the CW DC universe has done great things.
Yeah.
And, I mean, especially, I know I haven't done the DC report card lately, but Arrow is absolutely crushing everybody this season.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody.
They're not holding anything back, and they're taking no prisoners.
No, and obviously, like, whatever's going to happen next season is going to happen next season for season 8.
Yeah.
But just to say, like, they have rebounded, and then some this season has been phenomenal.
Well, I think it goes back to Stephen Amell's challenge back before the season premiered, or whenever we've heard about it. You know, write the season as if it's the last.
Yeah, because you know what? The writer, kudos to the Arrow writers team, because they have stepped up and taken that challenge and ran with it.
Absolutely.
And if you've seen this week's episode, they tie in to an old plot line that we haven't seen in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to go watch the episode.
I will say this, though. You mentioned Supernatural getting renewed for season 15 and that Jeffrey Dean Morgan is making his return. If they don't mention a baseball bat in any way, shape, or form, that is a missed opportunity.
Oh, it's going to be in there.
Even if they don't name Lucille, like maybe they go to choose a weapon to use and somebody tosses him a baseball bat and he just looks at it and goes, maybe.
You're going to see something with a bat.
They have to.
You're so going to see something with a bat. I got to just double check when that episode's coming out because I think it's coming out right around the Walking Dead returns.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
If I'm not mistaken.
That'd be perfect.
If I'm not mistaken, it's the same week. So we're going to find out by next episode for that. So my other one shot, I got to recommend something at the comic book shops, and Heroes in Crisis 5 came out.
Uh-huh.
And if you haven't been following how honestly brutal this series is.
Right.
I mean, that's the easiest way I can describe it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
It has definitely lived up to the expectations that have been passed forward. I mean, Tom King has definitely written just an epic thing about how the heroes are dealing with the psychological trauma from their daily activities.
Mm-hmm.
And we have an idea who is behind the killings.
Yep.
And if you listen to past ODPH episodes, I hinted at something. And I think I might have been onto something. Not to toot my own horn, but I definitely want to give the listener something to go on. Because I said, Notice the cover of issue 1 of Heroes in Crisis.
Yep.
And somebody's on there, and then something happens inside the book involving that character.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of getting the sense of the person that is in question for that may be behind everything going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be brilliant if it is.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't want to spoil this for anybody. If you haven't picked up Heroes in Crisis, get to your local comic shop. Pick that up. Pick up Deadly Class. Pick up Mr. Miracle when it comes out next month, too, or in March. Whenever that comes out in trade, it's going to be amazing. Tom King is absolutely crushing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
But just how they're doing this mystery, and just how you're seeing how the heroes are becoming more human than not, and just the everyday actions what they take has truly been something. And just the mystery is slowly getting revealed. And I got to find the episode we were talking about it on, but I said just remember the cover. And that's where I'll leave it at that. So definitely get down to your local comic shop, check it out. And my last thing, I just got to give a programming note for the ODPH. We had Shout at the Robots on. Definitely check that episode out if you want to hear about a great band that's doing some big things in 2019. And we have Floodlands finally making their appearance on the ODPH Saturday night. When you were hearing this, they will be on talking about their new album coming out and their big show coming on February 9th. So a lot of big things happening here.
Uh-huh.
But that's all we got for this week. So for Padawan J,
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour Entertainment Edition. We'll see you next time.